get it on, you think you're doing the right thing, and they, in their incredible technology world, know how to get around it.
Mm-hmm.
And also it slows it down, so they can't get to certain things.
Yes.
And it's a real problem.
Well, the thing I like about Spectre Pro that is not true, like Covenant Eyes does slow the machine down. A lot of those free services slow things down and then block good sites. So they need to do research, and now all of a sudden they can't go to the New York Times because the New York Times has a story on porn, and so it blocks it because of the word porn. What I like about Spectre Pro is it doesn't block anything. It takes a picture of everything. It doesn't slow the machine down too much. And I think it's the right theological approach because it teaches conscience development. Because what I'm saying to them is, I'm not going to work my best to keep you away from all these bad sites so that when you're 19 years old, you go to college and you turn on your computer and for the first time you realize I can go anywhere I want. Right? I mean, because we know what that's like with kids with alcohol.
Right.
You know, I want to teach you now an awareness of what you're doing. And I want you to have this thing in your mind that someone's watching. Someone could see this. Because someone can see it. Someone does see it. And so in that way, I'm kind of a proxy for the all-present God. And I like that. And then, you know, I just think we don't do this enough. And again, and I think the reason we don't do it is because 90% of our parenting comes from the way we were parented. Have you ever opened your mouth and had your parent start coming out of it? Isn't it amazing? It's like it took me 3 years of therapy to get through some of the things that happened to me as a kid. And I'm doing the same thing to my kid. I just slam him with these shame bombs of, you know.
Oh, the guilt trip.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to know a good guilt trip? Did you see the book that just got published? The woman is on like all the talk shows. It's called All Joy, No Fun. That basically says having kids absolutely decreases the amount of happiness in your life. But it increases your joy. But the research is absolutely clear that, you know, like if you survey people that don't have kids, they're having more fun. But they're not having more joy. So I had to clarify. I said that as a joke, and then my wife was like, okay, yeah. I went back and explained to them. Of course we don't regret having you. Hardly ever. And then the other thing is, you've heard this all over. If there's ever a talk in technology and the sheriff is coming to give it, I can give you a summary of that talk. Anything you do online will be found down the road. Anything you say or do online. I was in a small group, but we did the Renew program at our parish, and there was a woman who worked as a contractor for the Defense Department. And someone was making a comment about this. Oh, but I just let my friends see it, and so no one will ever see that down the road. And she started laughing. And she said, are you kidding me? She said, I mean, you can pay companies to go mine all that data. And even Facebook may even decide to sell old data from when you were 16 years old, because if employers are going to want that. That is a treasure trove for future employers. So anything you say or do, including Snapchat, that disappears, it doesn't disappear. It's on a hard drive somewhere. You know, because these companies have to back up their everything that they do. They keep backing it up and backing it up. So even though it doesn't appear on the screen, it doesn't mean it's not there. So we kind of have to remind our kids that all the time. Even jokes, you know, even participating in jokes could be just enough down the road to get them in trouble or to get them fired or whatever. So the other thing is boundaries about personal info. We make sure our kids do not put personal information, no addresses. You know, and that's just a boundary that we need to. There's also, if you go to the Center for Missing and Exploited Children, I'm just going to push through this. There's a thing called the Internet Safety Pledge. The Center for Missing and Exploited Children suggests that you have your kids sign this, which basically says this is what you will do when you're online, and if you don't do this, then you will lose privileges to going online, at least for a while. So I'm going to fast forward this. I can show you this slide again after, just because I really want to get to solving problems. We forget that we can block a lot. You know, you can put parent controls on TVs. Most cable companies will allow you with a password to block things. We block everything on our TV. We block everything more than PG. And then our kids just ask us, and we put the number in for them. Right? You can do that in your cable around here, can't you? We just got Netflix. And when you order Netflix, we couldn't find the parent controls on the TV. But we went online with Netflix, and online we did the same thing. We blocked everything 14 years old, you know, you have to be anything PG and above or whatever. We blocked it, which I didn't realize this, Because Netflix apparently has adult content. Apparently it has pornography available that kids could, you know, you're away for a weekend or you're away for a night, your kids could load that. So to go online and make sure, ask yourself, are there parent controls on everything they do? You can even put parent controls on the internet. Now, I'm not a big fan of those because all kids need to do is Google how to beat parent controls on, and it's too easy to break. But it's a good start.
Does Spectre Pro have anything for the TV? Because I like that idea that you had said about.
I don't know if it does. I know it doesn't list it on its website, but the way TVs and computers are becoming the same device, you wonder.
Yeah, because that's a better, again,
Yeah, it's a better way.
instead of the blocking.
Well, and if I can just tell you that the gold mine for us with Spectre Pro, and this is good, this makes me feel a little guilty, but not really, is that you get to see everyone else's Facebook, because every Facebook page that they go to, you can see. So my nieces and nephews, those friends, you know those friends you think are really innocent and cool and pure and like, yeah, them. So you can realize who you have to monitor more, who you have to not monitor. So it's really, and I think this is a little devious, but I say my boundary with them is nothing private online. And if you don't want to expose your friends, then don't look at their Facebook pages when you're on a computer in our house, because who said it should be private? Like, where did that rule come from that you should have privacy on a computer? Yeah?
Okay, so I have a question that might be jumping the gun,
Go ahead.
and it might also stem from my naivete as a mom of a 5-year-old and
Sure.
a 4-year-old,
Yeah.
having not had older children yet. But I think about, and I also sometimes have my technological challenges. You know, I don't really enjoy technology all that much. I do it when I have to. But I feel like you can monitor until you're blue in the face, and there's still so many loopholes in monitoring that ultimately what you have to teach your child is the self-discipline not to go where they're not supposed to. And I guess, like all these monitoring systems we talk about, what comes back in my mind repeatedly is, you know how I talk to my 5-year-old, no matter what, it's honesty. Honesty,
yes.
Honesty. And he's, you know, I can read it on his face if he's telling me the truth, but we've come to the point where he doesn't tell me lies because we've talked about honesty. No matter how bad it is, no matter what his punishment's going to be, he comes to me and tells the truth. And to me, that would be the first strategy with children and technology.
Absolutely, yes. And I'll say this as the last thing, but I think maintaining a connection with our kids is the most important thing, so that we can read their faces and know when they're lying. I mean, I know when my kids are lying too, thank God, as far as I know. And but I also would say this, that sometimes kids, that's great, and that works with, I have kids that would be so mortified, like my son would be so mortified if he happened to see porn by mistake. I mean, I would know because he'd be on the floor like crying, because that's the way he is. He's got such a soft heart, I love him. But I also know, without mentioning any of my kids specifically, that you do everything you can, you guide them, you shepherd them, and the next thing you know, they're going sideways, and there's nothing you can do. And those are the times when you want to have another. The other thing is, I just think, are we really a match? I mean, I flip on the computer, and I am honestly just looking for a score. So I'll just look for the Pistons score, and it's like wardrobe malfunction last night. You know, Jennifer Aniston's bikini top came off, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do that because I have Spectre Pro on my machine, and my wife can look at it anytime she wants, because that's how we handle that in our family. But if I didn't, I'm having a bad day, I'm in a fight with my wife, I'm mad at God, I feel like I'm having a pity party, I think I might look. You know, and I just think that's what it means to be human. When you realize that you don't have to do anything, it's always right there. And sexuality is a big drug. You know, violence is a big drug, yeah.
I just think, going to what you said, we can parent them really well, we can put the spectrum, but I think it's important to monitor them because it comes a point where they are listening to you, but they're listening to their peers also. So that's why you need to also, it's about monitoring all the people that are
I
around.
agree. I mean, I hear it.
Yeah.
I see the value of Spectre Pro, obviously,
Yes.
but I feel like there's nothing more foolproof than self-discipline.
Yes.
And teaching accountability. I guess that's what
I
I'm saying.
completely agree. And that is why I think,
Valuable Spectre.
that's why the first thing is to educate and be super clear. That study that came out last year that said when fathers make absolutely clear to their adolescent children their boundaries about sexuality, what they expect in terms of what they do and don't do sexually, when fathers make their values clear that they expect their kids to be abstinent when they go to college, kids wait on average a year longer before they engage in sexual activity in college. When fathers are that clear. So absolutely, be crystal clear and articulate and stay in relationship. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, that is the most powerful weapon you have. There's no question. I'm assuming that, you know, there's a lot of really good kids with really great parents who have really good relationships that still get pulled into this stuff, and it's really hard to get them out. If you have an iPhone or an Apple product, you might have to disable Safari, because Safari is wired to not be monitorable. That's just the way Apple feels about the internet. They don't want Safari. That is not for, if you have an Apple computer, I should clarify, like a laptop or a, whatever you call the regular Apple computer, you can put, and we have that, because we have one of those, and we have Spectre Pro on it, and it works great. But when you have like an iPhone, this isn't monitorable. The only way to monitor this would be to disable Safari, and then put a different browser on, a browser that you can monitor. Does that make sense?
The intention that Apple does not care about pornography, the potential can come through.
Well, I know this, that a guy, a pastor I was working with, who was really battling hard with his own sexual issues, he was doing great until he had a tablet or whatever, and then he got real into it. He started calling Apple and saying, I want to monitor and block this. And they said, there is no application, and we will not authorize an application to provide monitoring.
Which is why their icon is in Apple that's big.
Ooh. Yeah. Is that, you think, is that? But it is, I mean, the consequences are downright evil. The third thing I would suggest we do is always be able to show our kids are going to have electronics in their hand, so if we could be showing them some of the great places. Everyone knows about Plugged In, right? Plugged In is anytime there's a movie, our kids, and it's almost embarrassing, my 17-year-old 2 weeks ago was at a party, and they were going to watch a movie, and so she called and said, can I watch this movie? And I was like, I love this kid. Like, I'm not letting her go to college because it's all about me. I just want her to stay at home. So so my wife, who was home at the time, just quickly focused on the family, plugged in, searched the movie. There's always a review. It gives you everything from specific what words are used and not used to themes and redemptive themes and non-redemptive themes. It allows you to make good choices. Because why should we use the PG, PG-13, and R? Because it's not always about that. You know, a lot of times it's about more than that. And that also gives us a language to talk to kids. Like, we're going to let you watch it, but know this. Here's some of the themes that we think are really bad. And one of the things we talk to our kids about all the time is, watch how subtly they sell you on the lie that you can be sexually active before you have a life partner and everything turns out fine. This is a lie. And as long as you're aware that this lie is going to go on in this movie, you can watch it. It's like giving them a truth pill before they watch it. The last thing, and this is exactly what you were saying, we have to create connections